You know what I mean? So I jumped up and I was like, well, that'd be cool. I guess I'll try it out. And once
Yeah.
landing there, it was pretty mind blowing, to go, wow, this is a town.
Yeah.
I'm in Tennessee and, I think I had been through Tennessee, but I never stayed in Tennessee. And I'm like, it was snowing when I got there.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I'm going, it's snowing, I'm going, wow. So I'm like, wow. But it was sort of a weird retreat. And we were on the fence about me staying.
Right. Right. Well, we would have loved for you to stay. And I think that was part of the thing later was, is Simone going to say, it's like, how are we going to find Simone enough work in Nashville to stay and be in this, little indie band that may or may not get any gigs. That was kind of thing that was a difficult.
At that point, you were already grooming and talking about other work I could get in this studio, that studio.
I was trying to sell you, man. I was trying to sell you on a man. Come on. If you'd, I mean, we were such good friends anyway. Like just to have you around would have just been awesome. Just for us being friends. But to have you in the band, and it's, come on, man. Yeah, of course I was trying to sell you on it. I didn't have any money. I could pay.
Please stay. I'm broke.
It would be cool if you lived here. It's that kind of thing. It's
But after all that, it was coming together, and I was really kind of leaning that way. Then I saw some things that I felt like definitely that place wasn't, certain elements weren't for me. And it's probably because we were so young and I was kind of just afraid. But
Yeah.
I had a great time musically and culturally. I remember even going in, I remember everything. I remember we went into Toots, and we were eating, and the girl comes up and I asked for something, and she just went, "You're not from around here. You're so polite and so kind and so nice." She went, "Please stay." And I was just like, what? And I went, "We're not even at Hooters, we're at Toots."
So for those who are not familiar with Middle Tennessee cuisine, Toots is absolutely, and well, okay, at that time it was definitely a ripoff of Hooters, right? They wanted to be Hooters. I think originally the name of the place was Tooters.
Oh, good Lord.
They had to change it to Toots. And instead of the girls wearing the orange shorts, they wore orange cheerleader skirts and tight t-shirts and wings. And actually the wings were pretty good. The wings are probably better than Hooters wings, but that's a different story.
We did rock some wings. I remember that.
The wings were serious. So
there was a Hooters here about 10 minutes from my house, dude.
In Australia?
10 minutes from my house here. I think they closed it during the pandemic, the beginning. But wow. Yeah. But so, going through those sort of elements we went through, and then, I felt like I wasn't sure about it. I was constantly battling my own brain, but overall, meeting Paul, then and getting along with him, I think, once we got into it, I started getting along with Paul really well.
Yeah.
And just starting to play with you guys, I was feeling like I was part of the band, and I think, the overall experience, it'll never, that'll be something I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. So it was pretty deep. I just think all the circumstances, maybe if there was some money to, had kept me, I probably would have, carried on. I wasn't thinking about the money then, but if the money would have probably just excited a younger me, Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, or the work, right? There had to be, that was a tough time musically, work-wise, period. Nashville was at that time a place where you had to play gospel or you had to play country.
Yeah.
There weren't enough jazz gigs. There weren't.
But I was willing to do all the country gigs. Remember, you were showing me. I was like, I'll do anything. I'll take it all.
Yeah, yeah, and you could have you definitely would have done well. You'd have done well with all of that stuff. Getting your feet in the door and all that kind of stuff. Getting people to accept you. Playing those 3 gigs at first, might have been a thing. There's some brothers that do a lot of those gigs now, but that's now and not, this is 95, it's a different.
Wasn't 94 when we started that?
Well, did we do the recording? We recorded in 94 and then we did, and then it was released in 95. That's correct. That's correct. So yeah. So it was a different time. And and obviously we were dealing with a bare bones budget, so we didn't have tour support. And do you want to tell the story about the rehearsal space?
No,
the rehearsal space.
The biggest. Well, I'll go to my beginning of that. Okay. I'll give even props, even though they're not my sponsor. I did become sponsored for a little bit after that, by Pearl Drums.
Yeah. Pearl really came through for us on the Jack Johnson record. They came. They brought us.
Gene is the man. He's retired now. He retired from there, and I still kept in touch with him because he was my drum guy in San Francisco. Such a wizard that he started working for them, and he made it possible. Remember, I said just call Gene. I gave you his number and stuff at Pearl, and you rang him up, and bam, 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 and I rolled into your house, and there's a box. It was a brand new unplayed kit.
Yeah.
Stacked up, and I was like, I don't need that many drums. I was scared. I was like, what? I don't need that many drums. I remember you had it in your spare room stacked up.
Yeah.
I'm like, good Lord, dude I said, that's an awesome dude. He took care of me.
He really did. He really did.
And my biggest fear, then remember I got to go to Pearl, got to see even Dennis Chambers' kit there, and they were like, oh, we can't tell you whose kit it is. I'm going, it's Dennis' kit. I could see that, see the color and the setup, but it just, and then, being in that, getting to that space kind of rough, and I was scared to damage this kit.
Right.
Once that happened.
So we were rehearsing at this place in Murfreesboro called Concert Productions.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a place. Now here's the thing, to their
defense.
To their defense, we had rehearsed. I had played there before and rehearsed there with other bands before.
Oh yeah, you preached that to me.
So I was like, this is a cool place.
You showed me around.
Rough around the edges, but it's okay. But we were called. So this was a place where you would rent your space, had a monthly lease, and you would go and you would play there, and this is where your band would rehearse, and there's other bands rehearsing around you, and everybody's loud and you can't hear or whatever, but you've got a place to rehearse, right?
Yeah, the typical lockout studio, and they smell like beer.
Exactly. So we were coming in, and it was like, hey, John Richards, will you do us a favor, because we're cutting this record. We don't have a rehearsal space. We need to rehearse. And they're like, we're really kind of full. I got this room in the back that's kind of being, it was storage basically for lack of a better word, but everything was just all in disarray or whatever. But you guys can come. You're going to rehearse for, what we were supposed to rehearse like a couple of days or something.
I don't remember. I think it was supposed to be maybe a week.
We were supposed to rehearse for a week and then play for a week.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that or whatever. But we didn't end up rehearsing for a week.
Maybe 3 days?
Like 2 or 3 days. Yeah. I think
because of circumstances.
Yeah. Because what I don't remember, maybe I kind of do remember how we got locked into the place. I think the room was kind of, we're in there playing and we're having fun, and we're kind of starting to gel as a band. We were starting to really figure out what we're doing, figuring out the groove. If you've never played with Simone before, Simone is so much funkier than you kind of expect, right? So
Don't make me cry.
I'm not so as rock guys, we were very much used to being like right on top of the beat, right? And so the thing that was most difficult for us gelling as a band was locking to your groove, because your groove was so much more laid back than anything that we do. And when we talk about laid back, for you musicians, we're talking about there's the front of the beat, there's the middle of the beat, and there's behind the beat. You're all still on the beat. Everybody's on the beat. Everybody's in time.
Mm-hmm.
But those segments of the beat and those places in the beat and the spaces in between the beat is where the groove lies. And so for us, because we were coming to it from a more rock aggressive front of the beat kind of thing, and Simone was bringing this laid back behind the beat thing, and now you hear it like Jay Dilla really popularized that super behind the beat, like
where's drunk?
Drunk kind of behind the beat. Simone had at the back of the beat, but still just rock solid time. And we had to figure out that groove. And I don't think we had the vocabulary to name it at the time, or I didn't have the vocabulary to name it at the time. I could feel it. I could feel we gotta lay back. So that was our biggest thing. It's like getting the arrangements, and we were like rearranging stuff, and we wrote a song. It was really cool. It was the first day. Was it the first day of rehearsal?
Yeah.
That it rained inside the rehearsal room. So there's like a torrential downpour going on outside. And we're in here playing. And was it you and the kid? That's
That's why I say I was freaking out. I'm looking up, and it's right in front of the kid. Near cables, though. Near cables for you guys. Your cables are going right across the kit, and I'm going, oh my God, they're gonna catch on fire, and this kit's gonna blow. It's gonna burn.
Or there's like water starting to stream down and drip on the kit, and it's like all this stuff is happening. And so we were like, okay, well, let's move over here. But they're doing like renovation in this room. So there's like all these, and we're not talking about boxes. We're talking about like half of a stage and like all this like huge wood stuff that was just too heavy for us to move and all that. So we're just like, okay, well, let's just figure out. And so we ended up in just like the floor.
We pulled the kit back, I remember.
Yeah. So we're like, let's just cram into this little corner and let's just play for as long as we can. And then eventually it's like the rain just keeps getting harder and harder.
We got a bucket. We got a barrel. One of those big old giant
right.
Like drums.
Yes.
I think it was blue.
Like one of those big blue plastic drums.
Yep.
Right.
And we put that in front of the kid. We had to keep moving it every other hour. I think that's when we got locked out too that day.
Right. So we got locked into the room because we were trying to get out, and it was like the door ends up getting stuck. And so it wasn't there. There was another band playing. There was another band rehearsing at this time.
Yep.
Right. And they were like really loud, some rock band, I think. They were really loud. And so we're like banging on the wall. trying to get them to hear us. It's like they're playing too loud. They can't hear us. We're like in the room. We're trying to bang on the walls. Hey, help us, help us. I think they're in the credits on the album.
They
It's
are.
like,
You credit the one dude because they finally stopped for a break to him to go to the bathroom.
right.
And
And
that's how we caught him. We went, they've stopped. We were like, go, they've stopped. And he came out, we heard him coming out the door, and we all started yelling and beating again. And that's how, and then I think you negotiated with him. The unleashing of us.
But he rescued us.
Yeah.
we might still be in there.
Flooded and drowned.
Right.
With a kit that I couldn't afford.
And that was the first day.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy.
But so all that, the whole thing, and then going to the house to record, and I remember you really picking at me being my groove was so way back. Once you heard it on tape at the time, really affected you more of with your loops that you had, and we really had to I think I had a lot more to. I had to really change my style and my playing, and I was versatile in certain things, and I had been working on heavily. But you said I swung so hard it was killing you.
Yeah, because there were places where I had heard everything as like chuck, very straight 16ths, and you were swinging hard, and I'm like trying to get you to stop swinging. Even though then I could go back and listen, I was like, oh, actually the swing does sound really good.
But it's not what you envisioned though. But it was like, oh, all right. I didn't ask for chocolate, but I'll eat chocolate. I wanted vanilla.
It was one of those things that was like, man, I would, so had we had a little more time, it would have just turned into it would have been so monster. But the record ended up good. But that was the negotiation, was like figuring out how to handle the swing.
I was working on it. I was even when you weren't at home and I was in your place and I was writing, like, remember when I started scribbling some of the lyrics to Open Mind as well. You remember you were out one night.
Yeah.
And during that I was practicing, on pillows and working on my feel. So I was going, okay, I haven't played as straight as that as much. And that's the other thing is I see a lot of kids go, okay, well, somebody's complaining about the way I play. This is what I've worked on. And to have that ego and not be flexible is something that also you can't do anymore too. You have to be just be versatile.
Yes. And I think that's something that we both learned at that session, I think was that, because for me, I could hear it, and I could hear it really straight. And a lot of what was developed from that record, what the original sound of that record was centered around me playing a drum machine along with these hip hop loops. And so the loops might be swinging, but the drum machine was already, even with the swing on the drum machine turned up to 100%, couldn't swing anywhere near like Simone White swings. It's just not going to get there. And so that was a lot of the way that the feel of those tunes had been written, it was around me programming a drum machine to try and make it sound like a live drummer. And to lock in with these loops, and the loops were kind of swinging in some degree. So I had to change my mindset and learn, as a producer, it's like, well, okay, well, we've got to adapt. We got to sound like a band, so we've got to meet somewhere in the middle, and, we've got to swing with you. You've got to play a little bit straighter, and we got to find the places where we can get it. And I think we locked in on most of the record.
Yeah, most of it. But now I can, of course you could hear it, and you could hear all the faults in it and go, oh man, if we had more time, or, and I don't think it always takes too much time, but if we had a lot of different things against us, obviously. So it wasn't just that. So we had elements of, it was almost like, being out on a boat out to in a bad storm. But,
Right.
I was trying, and I could hear where there's points where you hear swing, you hear straight, you hear this battle even inside of my own self. I'm listening to it going, I can hear these inner battles.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had obviously been playing lots of jazz by that point, because I think I was pretty much mostly doing my own thing in
Mm-hmm.
in other sessions. So I was like, wow, my swing.
Yeah.
So that
Oh,
was, go
so
on, sorry.
I thought about something. No, I just thought about something. So look, I'm gonna be right back. I gotta go get
Uh-oh.
my sunglasses. I
Go
gotta
ahead.
get my sunglasses.
I can't track without sunglasses.
We got it. We're gonna track. This is the engineer at our session, right? We started going. We got everything set up. We got sounds. We're ready to go. I got to go to my house, man. I got to go to my house. So look, listen. I'll be back in 20 minutes. I live 10 minutes away. So 10 minutes back. I gotta go to my house. I gotta go pick up this one thing over here, and I'll be, and I'm gonna be right back. I'll be right back.
We're like, okay. Because it took a little while. We're like, okay.
We got a week.
And we were hot. We had just sound checked, and my sound was sounding good. I had that kit bumping. We were ready.
Yeah,
we were
ready.
Like, okay.
Well, you gotta leave when it's time. And this was my first time producing.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah. So I did not. Am I allowed to curse?
Of course.
I did not know how to be an asshole, right? To get things done, right? I was afraid of messing up the vibe and afraid of I don't want a negative vibe on everything, man. We're having fun, we're playing, man. This is cool. Let's just play, let's be cool. He's got to go to his house. He's gonna be back in 20 minutes. It's cool, man. We're ready, but it's cool. It was what, 3 hours later or something like that?
Yeah. We were walking around, and I think it was Paul and I were out front finally. And I'm like, Nadir, check this out across the street.
Yeah, that was later. That was later, right? Because he did this leaving thing like twice on us. He did it right before we were tracking. He did it after we finished tracking. He was like, I gotta go, and I gotta go get my sunglasses. I can't do a rough mix without my sunglasses, but I gotta go to the house. I go to. So we find out later. Yeah, so this guy is probably he's come back. He's doing all this stuff, and which is not what we were into at all. And we were there to play. We're there to be serious. And so it was.
Yeah, we weren't drinking or anything. None of us were drinking or nothing.
Nothing. And so I think it was the second night of tracking is when you and Paul were outside, and we were waiting on the engineer to come back. And it's like, man, he's been gone a long time. He keeps doing this, man. This is crazy. What are we going to do? And you and Paul were outside, and what did you see?
The police rolled up to these people's house across the street and pulling this dude out their house.
Yeah.
Because he's thinking he's in the studio, which was in a residential area.
Yeah. So I think what I think the story was he was going. The engineer Dan, I don't remember Dan's last name, and I don't.
We don't want to drop that.
We don't want to put Dan on Front Street anyway. But he came back drunk or high or something.
He was high,
and instead of coming to the studio, he went to the house across the street and was trying to get into the guy's car. And so he was trying. His story later was that he thought it was his girlfriend's car. So the guy who owns the car and owns the house or across the street is like, what are you doing trying to get in my car? And so I think Corbin was outside and he's like, oh man, there's some guy and he's like yelling at his son or something. They're having some argument, whatever. The cops are coming, there's all this stuff. No, turns out that's our engineer.
Yeah.
And our engineer is so high that he's trying to get into the car across the street instead of coming back to work where he's supposed to be.
Man.
And it was like, dude.
So you had to, and then you finished. I remember you had to actually jump in the driver's seat.
Well, we ended up, I think we called Corbin's friend Lottie, happened to be in town. She's an engineer.
Yep.
She came the next day and started us on a couple of things, but she only had like one day. And she's going through the tracks of what Dan had done, and she's like, what is this? And I'm like, and we were so far behind schedule that we were having trouble like stopping and listening to stuff, right?
Yeah.
We never had time because he kept leaving, and so we didn't have time to really we're just like tracking stuff. We got a week, we got to get this stuff knocked out. Simone's got to go. Whatever, your flight scheduled or whatever, we've only got this amount of time in the studio, we've got to get it done. And so she's coming and she's like, what is this? I'm hearing phasing in the cymbals. And it's like, there's stuff, there were things we probably would have stopped and recut.
Yeah.
Had we listened, as intently as we needed to, had we had an engineer who was sober, and when we did get an engineer who was sober, that's, it was kind of weirding out.
She was listening to all the mistakes.
Yeah, she's hearing all the mistakes the engineer had made. And so she was there for a day, and then our friend Lars Hall came and helped us finish out the last day of overdubs. And we just had time to do like vocal overdubs, and we got your drums done, and we got Ethan's bass done. And, Paul was supposed to recut his guitars. Paul was supposed to cut his guitars at the end after everything else was done, and we had run out of time.
Yeah.
And so this is why Paul looks back at that record and is like, oh man, so many wasted opportunities. So much that it could have been. And he just like, this is a guy who builds guitar pedals and builds amplifiers and is all about his tone. That tone is not my tone. We just threw up a mic because the engineer was gone.
Yeah.
We threw up a mic and we played, and it's like, well, we're just gonna, we got to do this to get drum sounds. I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna overdub, I'm gonna put 4 guitar, he's gonna put 4 guitar tracks on everything. I'm gonna put 4 guitar tracks, 8 guitar tracks on everything, and it's gonna be, huge.
He had his dream.
And he had no time left when it came down to it. We ended up dropping solos on a couple of things, like, let's just go in and cut your solo. And it's like, no, you get that one take. That's all you get. You gotta go to the next song. It was crazy.
But all in all, there's bits on there that are still very golden, and I still listen to it. I still pull it out every so often to, some things I can't even play that way anymore. That was a different guy.
Right.
So that's a really cool thing. So certain things I still steal from me. I still go back and go, oh, I don't play like that anymore. What was that? How did I do that? Because after, especially way more training since then and all this other stuff since then, I just went, whoa, how did I do that? And I had less training, but just had this thing. It's natural instinct. Yeah.
It's the vibe, right. And I've been, my voice is different now. So I've actually been going back and like sending people those songs, like pitching those songs to bands, this woman that I play with, I'm musical director for this, for a phenomenal singer named Stephanie Christian, and hit the first song on the Jack Johnson record. she just nails it and just does, and we play it pretty much the way that the Jack Johnson record is. We play that's
Cool.
pretty much the arrangement, you know. Little flourishes here and there, but that's pretty much it. And she just nails it. She does it exactly right. And then, and there's a couple of other bands that I've pitched some of the other songs to, and I think that was a really cool moment in time. And it's one of those things, it's one of those things. Yeah, it would have been great if you could have stayed and we could have become a band. Life would have gone in a completely different direction for both of us.
Most definitely.
Huh?
I said most definitely, but the big picture is, though, your story had to be what it is, because look where you are now.
It is, and you as well, right? So so that's the thing. It's like, but that was a really special moment in time. And frankly, you have played on all of my albums. You've played at least one song on all of my albums, and on a lot of my singles, that's you.
I never think about that. I just do it. I mean, I just
no, you're somewhere on every record, something, and I think that in itself is another testament, to our friendship, and just this whole thing of where, even though when the opportunity came for us to actually live in the same city and work together, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
We've still kind of managed to play together and have a relationship, and a musical relationship that is growing. That we're actually, now the technology is caught up with us,
as you like to say.
And we can actually, do it more often. Wait until we can do, wait until the internet bandwidth is good enough for us to do a live real-time session,
Yeah.
and then, like, actually just sit like this and let's just play a session and have it actually record, on
and interact and actually lay it down.
Yeah. And I mean, that's going to be phenomenal. When is that going to happen? Next year, maybe?
I think probably next year, because I think there's not going to be much handshaking for a good while. So,
No.
so